Video games. The Oxford Dictionary defines the term as games played by electronically manipulating images produced by a computer program on a monitor or other display. In the nowadays world, more or less everyone has played something called a video game. People can become gamers for their occupation, and the industry gradually, or better, rapidly, grows larger. Statistics show that only in the US, the video gaming industry has experienced an increase of 1,372% since the year 2000. And with this expansion, many different game genres were developed, from RPG to sports games and race simulations. It's all about victory. Well, it's mostly about victory. Now, art. If we talk about art, we often mean paintings, music, literature. Well, the usual stuff. Again, a definition by the Oxford Dictionary. Art is the expression or application of human creative skill and imagination, typically in a visual form such as painting or sculpture, producing works to be appreciated primarily for their beauty or emotional power. In short, something that is created by human and is either beautiful or evoking emotions in you. Now, if we combine the different art types of music and digital painting with interactive motions, isn't this the exact description of video games? But stop. The American film critic Roger Ebert once commented that games can never be art.
But what is a film critic to comment on video games?
Yeah, right. So now we will conquer the big question whether video games can be art with the case study of a somewhat unusual game called Florence. Florence is an interactive narrative game developed by Mountains and published by Annapurna Interactive on Valentine's Day in 2018. It is a prize winner of the Game Awards of 2018 and the mobile game category in competition with other popular games, including PUBG Mobile and Fortnite. Other awards it has won include DICE, Award for Mobile Game of the Year and Game Developer's Choice. Florence employs a linear narrative structure that is divided into 20 chapters with 6 acts, each depicting a specific segment of Florence's life and her relationship. The story is primarily visual with minimal text, guiding the player through Florence's experiences. The story begins with Florence, a 25-year-old girl in Melbourne, going about her daily routine, heading to work, completing boring tasks, calling her mom, spending time on social media, and finally going to bed. One day, while on her way to work, Florence encounters Krish, a street musician playing cello. A spark ignites between them, and not surprisingly, they fall in love. Over time, Florence and Krish grow closer as they explore the city together and, at the peak of their relationship, come to live together. However, as with any relationship, Florence and Krish also experience conflicts and disagreements. They struggle with communication and understanding, leading to tension and frustration in the relationship. Despite their love for each other, they find it difficult to reconcile their differences and maintain a healthy romance. Eventually, their relationship reaches a breaking point. Florence and Krish part ways. The game then explores the aftermath of their breakup, depicting Florence's journey of self-discovery and personal growth as she learns to move on and find happiness within herself. Players witness Florence's evolution from a young woman navigating the complexities of love to a stronger, more independent individual who learns to appreciate the beauty of life beyond romantic relationships. Florence certainly is a video game, but it has more to it than only telling the story of romance through interactive taps and swipes. How, you ask? Well, let us show you. In the following, we will present you the
In our opinion,
most striking chapters and moments of the video game which could possibly answer our central question, whether video games can be art. The first chapter informs players of Florence daily.
boring.
Let's postpone it and we'll start with the second chapter, Memories. This memory, as in the title, is triggered by a box that Florence finds during her cleanup. It contains artworks of 7-year-old Florence. The music is joyous, consisting of flute and piano. The melody is swift and bright. Here the player is in young Florence's position and arranges different stickers onto a plain coloring page. However, the scenario changes with the entry of Florence's mother. Florence stops crafting her artwork and instead solves math calculations. endlessly, and so does the player. His smile vanishes and the music is serious, even menacing. Well, I don't know about you, but which Asian child does not relate? Really. The following chapter, Music, captures Florence's first encounter with Krish. It is also worth mentioning that this chapter is the only horizontal chapter of the game. Florence, who's intrigued in social media, finds that her phone ran out of battery, so she takes down her headphone. In that very moment, yellow notes float toward Florence, and with every tap on a note, she steps closer to the music's origin. The melody weaves a path, gradually lifting Florence into the air. People on the streets fade into the background. Florence and her pursuit of music are now the center. At the end of the path awaits a cellist, colored the same intensity as Florence. The world seems to only consist of Florence, music, and Krish, the cellist. Through this special emphasis, the game hints towards further development between the two characters. Next comes Chapter 5, named First Dates. This chapter marks the beginning of the romantic relationship of Florence and Krish. Throughout the chapter, both colors and music are vibrant, reflecting the joyful atmosphere between the two characters. Also, Krish's cello music in the background show the growing connection to Krish from Florence's perspective. The gameplay of the chapter, however, focuses on the conversation from Florence's perspective. Here, the players need to set classic puzzles into an oval speech bubble each time Florence converses. With the increasing number of speech bubbles, the number of puzzle pieces decreases. The characters grow more intimate until a speech bubble consists of only 2 big puzzle pieces. Similar to the conversations here, Chapter 14 also uses speech bubbles as symbolism of the relationship. After the initial passion between the two people gradually fades, Florence and Krish come to argue. The music is tense and filled with dissonant cello bows. Dominant colors in the visualization are black, white, and an aggressive tone of red. As we set the puzzle pieces, we see a change of the mellow shapes into square and uneven puzzle pieces. At the peak of the argument, the puzzle pieces are shaped sharp and aggressive, while the speech bubbles resemble to weights on a scale. The fight turns into a race of who speaks more. In the meantime, both start crying, but are compelled to hold on, while harming the other. Returning to the moment after the first dates in Chapter 5, the love story sets off with exploration. Here the player has to shake the empty Polaroid films until the pictures of different dates appear. Through their relationship milestones as hiking together or meeting the families, the player feels the story's involvement in these trivialities. When the lens eventually zooms out and shows the colorful Polaroid board on the middle of Florence's plain workspace, one feels the impact of the relationship on Florence's life. It seems as if it has brought color to her unadorned daily. As the game proceeds, the Chapter 10, Moving In, displays the scene in which the couple moves Krish's belongings into Florence's apartment. Guided by a mellow, upbeat, and relaxing music, the player must decide which items should be kept and which to be put away, symbolizing compromises in a relationship and the process of building a life together. Although just moving objects in and out of the box is seemingly insignificant, these tiny actions allow players to engage in the process of moving in on their own behalf and feel excited about the relationship. Chapter 16, Moving Out, is the contrary of Chapter 10. While the weather is bright and the settings colorful in the previous Moving In chapter, the cheerfulness is replaced by windy, rainy days and dull gray tones in Chapter 16. Taking objects one by one from the shelves, symbolizing gradual detachment from the relationship, players feel an internal emptiness as if living through the heartbreak of Florence. The more intertwined a couple is, the greater the damage will the breakup inflict. Distorted sound effects and scattered piano sounds further hint that their love is no longer repairable and further render the sadness and pain of breaking up. The previous mundane tasks and repeating routines in Chapter 1 suddenly are a meaningful and exciting part of Florence's life in Chapter 11 after moving in. Waking up, brushing teeth, and falling asleep no longer are dull and lonely activities. It is visible that Florence gets more motivated in life. Instead of eating sushi, she cooks together with Krish. Instead of the player do her work at job, she becomes so motivated that matching the numbers is automatically done by the game itself. And most importantly, Florence cherishes these daily experiences, as can be seen through her subtle smile, and of course, on the player's face as well. Krish and Florence are drifting apart, as the title of Chapter 15, Drifting, states. A picture is torn into pieces, which the player puts together by moving the pieces of the picture. In the picture, the couple is still hugging each other. However, despite the physical proximity, they both know deep down that it is impossible to fix the relationship. It's like no matter how hard we try to put the pieces together, the already existing fragmentation makes the picture not repairable. After some time, Florence still dreams of the man she once loved. They are wandering side by side aimlessly without any eye contact. Krish walks slower than Florence. If the player does not press and hold so that Florence stops walking, Krish will gradually become invisible and fades away from the screen. But just simply pressing and holding will not do anything, then let the former couple stand side by side and remain silent. So players have no choice but to let go, as namely the title of Chapter 18. In the last two chapters, time flies by. Our protagonist is no longer disoriented as she rediscovered the paint box, a present from Krish, covered under a pile of sundry. Her practice has showed results, and the background in her painting room progressively turns colorful. Her haircut is shorter, but what remains the same is her sincere smile. Florence embraces new things that come into her life. She's now more intimate with her mother, befriended other people who are passionate about drawing, and keeps an adorable pet cat. Finally, Florence decided to quit her job as she can suffice herself as an artist. When she was relocating objects on her workplace table, she found a photo hidden under the keyboard. A photo of the couple. Florence picked the photo up carefully, looked at it closely, and then put it in the packing box as she has let go and embraces the past memory. At the end of the game, her exhibition has attracted a lot of visitors, and she learns to communicate and exchange ideas and conversations. Not as expected by some players, neither does Krish show up at the gallery,
Two people fall
nor
in love,
does the
they
couple
don't need
reconcile.
to get married and spend the rest of their lives together to make this relationship meaningful to them.
This ending is significant because it deviates from the conventional expectations of a romantic relationship, where the ultimate goal is often depicted as the couple reuniting or achieving a permanent, idealized state together. Instead, Florence focuses on the individual's journey, emphasizing an individual's personal fulfillment and success with the help of or even apart from a romantic relationship. In its own way, Florence still celebrates romance. The feelings it has evoked in the hearts of the players are real. Without the encounter with Krish and their time spent together, Florence probably would not have turned out to be a successful artist, as she has dreamed of in her early childhood. Now to conclude this journey, let's answer the final question. Can games, and in particular Florence, be art? A game, with its only purpose being manipulating the players to pay more and is full of mindless competition and slaughter, can probably hardly be seen as art, as they are neither conventional aesthetic nor contain emotional power. As a unique example, Florence satisfies the visual needs of humans to be aesthetically pleased by utilizing only simple color masses and lines as usually done in paintings. The fine and delicate soundtracks put players into a modern symphony, where each melody is composed to enhance the emotional landscape of the narrative. In addition to that, it offers the dimension of interaction, which makes games as the Nine's art unique in its own way, letting the players really immerse and enjoy the game itself. In essence, Florence not only evokes emotions through seemingly subliminal aspects of life, but also challenges players to re-evaluate their perceptions of love, regardless of their own experience of love. And most importantly, encourages the player to be who they wish to be.